thought I had a little bit of a perspective about suicide survivors, the impact, and I didn't have a clue. Because the devastation is so profound. And it's just a gigantic ripple effect on everybody.
You don't even want to open up your Facebook feed some days because you're going to see, you know what, there's another one today. There's another one today. And then it's who is it, what happened? 5, 6, 7 young men.
Wives and mothers and sisters and other friends they're white knuckling right now. We're in sort of this experience of a contagion, a suicidal contagion. There's an immense fear about who's next right now. Everybody's walking on pins and needles, holding their breath.
So many questions and so much guilt in our community, and it's just like a desperation. You just want it to stop because you understand the pain and you don't want anyone else to feel it. On May 29th, my brother took his life, my brother Brandon, and it was out of nowhere. We don't really know what happened because he didn't even know.
Yeah, it was 2 months after one of his best friends passed away. Ryan actually passed away the day of another friend's funeral. So we were at a celebration of life, or whatever you want to call it, the night before.
He was a buddy of mine, and this is the same theme you'll hear from all of these. They were the life of the party. They're the guy that walked in and everybody stopped and wanted to talk to, and some of them seem to have everything in the world, businesses and families and wives and kids, and so it's hard to get your head around.
We were barely trying to heal and recover from his friend passing. And we had spoke about suicide a lot because of that. He had promised me that this was something that would not happen, and I think in that moment he truthfully did mean that and believe that. I was the one to find him, and his parents thankfully lived next door, so I had their support and we were there together for that traumatic experience. I truly believe that Ryan didn't want to die. In that moment he made a quick, impulsive decision because he was sad and overwhelmed, and he'd been drinking. It's nothing I could ever have imagined. But the subsequent ones, it's just kind of reliving that trauma, and I've barely had a chance to catch my breath, and then you keep hearing of things happening, and it just really complicates the grief. I can't even describe it.
I don't know that there's a specific reason why it's happening here in Medicine Hat. I do know that the shock and the grief of the friends in this circle has been extensive. And so they're not even able to recover before another incident has occurred. So their grief becomes compounded and complicated by the inability to grieve. And we just simply won't ever know. Those people aren't here to speak their truth. And so even working with families that have had experiences of loss, always have that question of why. And we never can answer that question. And so what we do know is hopelessness is the one main trait that will move someone from ideation to acting on that. When someone in Medicine Hat calls the crisis team, they end up calling the distress line, which is in Calgary, who then calls the hospital in Medicine Hat, who then calls the crisis worker, who then likely may be at home, who then has to come to the hospital. There's just all these extra steps. And when people are in in those darkest moments, they need immediate support. If they have, you know, just a tiny space to act in that moment, then potentially the support can be effective, but it needs to be swift.
Now in Medicine Hat, you're seeing groups being formed. It's anything. It's talking to the men, saying, you know, talk about your feelings, go get some help, and the numbers. And obviously, you know, people are just trying to make sure that the next young man who's thinking about this knows there are resources available.
I think Ryan felt like he was mostly alone, that other men didn't have these same feelings, that there was something wrong with him. He didn't tell me. I didn't know. I wish I would have known, you know, that night. I would have helped him. I would have saved him.
Men don't ask each other, how's it going? They'll spend time together, but they don't necessarily have those tougher talks that are more vulnerable. As many families have said, well, I asked my loved one if they were okay, and they kept saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. So, you know, what makes someone want to be open and honest in that moment? Many people who die from suicide believe that they're a burden on their family.
I promise you, you matter. You're loved. And the devastation you will leave in the wake. It's just so life-changing.
So just please reach out. I'm sure it's scary, maybe humiliating, but people care. People love them. And there's always another answer.